So today we are looking at centre mids. This is the final one now. We've done cams, we've done CDMs before we roll back round. And like the rest, we're going through a set without the icons and then we'll start to throw them in. We are bringing in the 87 max icon SBC. Either today or potentially tomorrow. I know it has been leaked and we are going into the Ultimate Scream where we have been confirmed Paul Pogba is in there, so that is going to be a very throwback player. And obviously everybody's looking at silvers at the moment with a silver league, adding I think an extra 15 games due to disconnects. It's always going to be interesting. So let's pump this off to start with the two best, to be honest, two of the highest rated midfielders in the game. They are both playing for the same team in the Liga F, and it's got to be Argo Puteas or Puteas, however you want to pronounce it, and also Bonmati. Both of them being 91 rated. Obviously, we got a Ballon d'Or winner and also arguably the next Ballon d'Or winner. Both of them are exceptional. They're coming in at such a high price. We got 283. Both of them can play multiple positions. Bonmati can play cam and centre mid. Puteas can play all of them. So naturally you've got the first touch and the technical for both of them, and the stats very much angled towards more of a centre mid. Now, obviously, whenever you've utilised any of these, they do go well with the rest of the Liga F. From Salma to obviously then Hansen to even, I'm pretty sure there's a Pinner, of course, your striker left wing. There is so much talent in that Liga F team, especially up front, let alone looking at kind of like your Mappy Leons, your Paredes. They're not terrible in their own right as well, even with the lower rated, lower price. These are just some of the highest price cards that you'll find. And obviously, if you have used both of them, you know exactly why. The ball just sticks to both of them. Their dribbling is insane. Yes, defensively they are okay. I don't think they're the craziest. Puteas for many years has been in my team, from the team of the year to any of the upgrades. She is absolutely phenomenal. And to be honest, this year, Bonmati has most definitely stepped up a game. She's always been. So if you're looking for coins, head over to eldorado.gg. There is huge amounts of verified sellers on Eldorado, and there is a money back guaranteed by Trade Shield. If that's not enough, there is 24/7 live support and also plenty of reviews across websites that will definitely put your mind at ease. And as always, before you check out, make sure that you are using the code JT11 for 5% off every single order. Back to the video. That B tier sort of one, like you had Puteas, you didn't really need both. To be honest, both of them play very similar roles in terms of how they are. Obviously, both of them have an exceptional amount of shooting, exceptional amount of passing and dribbling, and the defending, the physicality has always been a little bit more questionable. As you obviously upgrade, they do get better and better each time, making them a fully all-round centre mid. This year, they've started off absolutely wonderfully wherever you want to put them. And if we want to stick with the Barças, then obviously we have to speak about one name, and that is our boy Frankie. He is brilliant again in his own right. 134,000 now. Frankie's always been a solid option from a very starting card. I don't think there's many better, and to be honest, there is only one other, and naturally the same nation as well in Reyners. I think both of them have got that very much same attributes. Like, they're a taller midfielder. They've normally got a solid amount of passing and dribbling. Pace is questionable, but it's there enough. And the defending physical over the course of the next few months should increase massively. Obviously, Reyners has had his upgrade as well, coming in at 700. Don't know if I'd quite say 700 is worth it. I'd probably stick to the 70 still. But naturally, you know that you're going to get a solid midfielder with both of them. Now, I do think it's going to be very heavy on the top meta with some of these cards, but naturally, I do think these are the best midfielders in the game. I really, really like Reyners, his first kind of introduction into the Premier League, into the higher rated compared to what he's had in previous years. This is a monster of a card. He's quick on the ball, even at 6'1", has that defensive prowess in terms of height, rather than necessarily technical ability. I'd probably be looking as a DM partner with him if you've got someone like Caicedo, if you was looking at someone like a Tchouaméni sort of build, you could link them very, very well together. And then you kind of go to the other avenue and you look at somebody like Vitinha. Vitinha is kind of your smaller centre mid, somebody that isn't necessarily crazy on that defence or not necessarily tall enough to overpower with just massive amounts of physicality. He's more of your tiki-taka, and he comes in very much like Pedri. I think both of them really hold their own regards like that. Now, obviously, a little bit cheaper. He is a technical plus, which I think he would have been phenomenal with obviously the kind of tiki-taka, the incisive, the pinged pass. Technical isn't necessarily one I would utilise in the midfield now, and he's definitely dropping out of that circle. Pedri with the first touch is always nice. I think that is a very important one in this game as well. Maybe more towards the double and triple as we get into them. It's going to have massive effects. Being able to have a tiki-taka, a pinged pass, as well as a first touch for a midfielder, especially somebody that is very much passing orientated. He's not necessarily defensive and he's not necessarily a shooting cam. He is an out and out box to box, bring the ball up, get the ball back. That is literally Pedri and Vitinha's role. Now, I do think Pedri is slightly better in the game. He definitely feels a lot more fluid with the ball. Vitinha is still phenomenal, but I personally would go with Pedri above him. I could get the option. I think Vitinha has a very nice option with his team. You look at Kvaratskhelia, you look at obviously Dembele. Doué is most definitely a solid one. And then you even throw in a João Neves, you throw in a Pacho and Marquinhos. There's a lot of good team morale around the PSG boys. Whereas obviously with kind of Pedri, you've still got that. Like, I don't think it's wrong. You've got a solid midfield with Pedri and De Jong. And if you wanted to throw in anybody else, Rashford has just got an evolution. Obviously then Yamal on the other side is still absolutely wonderful. So there is a lot of bonuses across both teams, but I do think that's where I personally would go with them. And then we kind of look at a little bit of an Evo side of stuff. You look at someone like a Bruno G. Very nice card. I think he's kind of just your standard pick now. I wouldn't necessarily go too crazy on the rating for him. I think pace was definitely an issue with the base card. I would possibly miss out on him a little bit. I'd possibly say the inform version could be seen as more of a usable, but I would say realistically that's where I would go at this point, especially with so many cards that we've got. Like, for instance, we look at Gallagher and Mainu. We have got them for free, if they are in the premium or not. If you've done the Ultimate Edition, you would have got the Season Pass for free. But realistically, everybody should be around about there now. If not, you should be there very, very soon. Still like another week or so of that season. So it's going to be an interesting one to see what midfielders change. If you are looking below a De Jong, but above a Bruno G, above a McAllister at this point, because they're cards that were great on the first week. They definitely were high rated. They have a little bit of an edge compared to maybe somebody with 80 to 83 midfield, but now we're starting to get that most people have a De Jong, a lot of people have a Reyners. It may not be a 2, 3 or 4 midfield that they've got every single good player in the position, but they've normally got one or the other at some point. Whereas I do think when we look at the World Tour, they're solid. They're absolutely solid. Coming to the end of this, I was thinking when we see the end category, like you see obviously Gallagher at 35, Mainu was at 35 as well, so one was clearly a premium. I did think once we got to the end of it, are we really going to be needing them at some point? Like, are we really going to have them as a capability to go into a team? Now, obviously, someone like Mainu, he's going to be absolutely ripe for evolutions in the future, like later on. But for right now, I still think he can really hold his own in that midfield. Same with Gallagher. Then we've obviously got the likes of Bowen, who's not awful. Little bit less of kind of in that right wing. But even then, you look at Tomori, solid centre-back, most definitely up there with the best of them. He was level 40. And he's still usable now. So it is nice to see that we have got season pass rewards that can actually be used. And whether that happens next time round, because the problem is you can't keep going up at this rate when we've got 85s. If next season they're like 86, 87 by level 40, we're not going to probably use them. By then, we will probably have the midfield of what we want. So realistically, we'd need to up it to like an 89. The problem then is if there's 7 or 8 seasons, you only have so long until you get to 99. So it is an interesting one to see where we're going to go with this next change of power curve. I know they said they're going to slow it. how slow can it be when a lot of people have got solid teams? Maybe not God squads, but definitely solid teams right now. So it will be interesting regardless. We then obviously see the likes of McAllister and McTominay. Realistically, they are going to be more in the kind of the bottom sort of set now, really. Like McSauce is pretty much there, mainly for that 87. The 87 looks wonderful. You've got a bit of an upgrade. It's not crazy, but realistically, you look at a little bit more of an upgrade for him. His 87 looks absolutely phenomenal. Very, very nice card. He obviously comes in, same 3-star, which is a bit of a shame, but the rolls are a brilliant upgrade from him. From a box-to-box plus to holding plus, box-to-box plus, as well as the playmaker plus, and also in the cam as a playmaker plus. It's a lovely upgrade, as well as the incisive pass makes an absolute world of difference to him. Now, I do like him. I don't know if I'd quite say top meta. He most definitely is in that top of the very usable. Like, he is up there with the best of them. I do think he's a very interesting card to see whether he's a true top meta. Let me know down below what you think. I think that is just down to the card itself. Obviously, there's plenty of upgrades, and if he continues the way he's going, I do think he will get up into that category very, very soon. Obviously, then kind of looking at a few of the others, you got the likes of Modric coming in with his inform. It's kind of there for the nostalgic vibe more so than anything. There's not really a crazy amount he can do. I would like a little bit more pace on him, but his dribbling and passing is always going to be there. Very much like a Bruno G. He's usable. You could definitely get something out of him, but he's not really going to go into many people's teams just yet. Now, we do have the likes of Sergio Busquets and also our boy Jordi Alba coming in as end of eras. I'd love to see where we go with that next time if we do get a Modric if he decides to retire this year. Obviously, they do have the icon chemistry as well, which will be wonderful for a lot of these players. So it's going to be very interesting to see regardless. Another sort of SBC card that we can obviously see, Goretzka. He obviously expired, but 81,000. Goretzka is most definitely coming back at a bang. Kimmich had a wonderful start to this year, and I do think Goretzka is going to follow him very nicely as well. We look at the stats across the board, just shooting, missing out on that 80. He was the original player rather than icon that is the Hullet gang level, and he most definitely will continue. And again, some of these players can look into an Evo at some point. Obviously, Goretzka, if you get him now, you could Evo him later on down the line. Same with Mainu, same with Gallagher, even the likes of McSauce. And yes, we're talking a bit into the future. The Evos have definitely had a slower kind of rise at the moment, which I think is wonderful. And there is different upgrades that you can do. So it might not be you can do turn him from an 85 to an 87, but you could give him an extra playstyle, maybe even a playstyle plus. You could throw in a little bit more on the composure, a bit more agility balance. I quite like being able to almost customize your card slightly, so it might not be that he goes nuts on an upgrade, but he stays in 85, but he ends up with 80 agility and balance. It's going to have a wonderful effect later on down the line, so it's an interesting one to say the least. Then if we go and talk to another high-rated player, one of my personal favourites in the game, full stop, and that has got to be Valverde. He has always been exceptional in games. I've always loved his special cards. His base card to start with in the game has always been a solid centre mid. This is a true Hullet gang level card at 6 foot, great height, lovely rolls, 230 on the board, 83 and above in every stat. He is a perfect midfielder when it comes to it. Now, obviously, you've got the Relentless on him, which it's good, and I mean, yeah, he's got the stamina already, so he's not going to get tired. I would have liked something else if we could have got either a defensive, an attacking, or a passing playstyle plus, but we are obviously being a little bit picky on the board. Now, we obviously did get another 89 as well. Obviously, their way of kind of slowing down, it went into the long ball pass, which I think has got use. The one thing that I don't kind of get with him, obviously, he's obviously got a little bit of an upgrade across the board, but he is 1.1 mil. Very difficult to find. I would personally still take the Relentless over paying an extra 800,000 coins for a card. They're both exceptional centre mids, but realistically I'm paying the 230 at this point. But they are going to be one of the best midfielders that you can truly find in this game. And we threw in one hero. I'm really hoping that there wasn't another centre mid. I was trying to rack my brain. We had Beasley, we had Alex Scott, Ollie, Forlan, we had... Who is the defender in this one? We've got Lizarazu and Cole. So I believe Guti was the only SBC card that you could have got from a hero. So that is obviously just why I've kind of put him in there. He was in an SBC, and I do think he is an absolute wonderful card. He's obviously got my personal favourite of a Shadow Striker plus. It was a shame that I just didn't really want him in the team when I've got Mamouche being a Shadow Striker just with a little bit more on the striker side, whereas obviously Guti's more of the passing side. I like having the almost striker in that cam, but Guti is still phenomenal in this game. Now, whether I'd call him into the top of the top, it's a hard one, because I don't want to just put everybody in that top end. Like, these are the players that I think I've seen the most, I've used the most, and most definitely have had the best results from. I did really like Guti, but whether I'd choose him over McSauce and Goretzka at the same time, I think he's very specific if you're looking in a centre mid role. As a cam, little bit better. I maybe would go a little bit higher. As a centre mid, I'd possibly be looking more towards the very usable. And we also did have some of the pre-order icons. So these are ones that I wish I got, at least over the centre-back that I got. We have Toni Kroos as an 86. Obviously, we'll go up to his 90. Looks incredible, but even at this, I'd say is solid. You then have Iniesta as one of the better icons that you can find in the game at the minute. He's obviously an 86, goes up to a 92 with the incisive. Very nice. And then you've obviously got Gerrard coming in as well, who is questionable. Obviously, he goes one higher, goes from his 85 into the 89, which is always nice. Gets a lovely stat upgrade across the board, which I think is brilliant. I really don't think he's as crazy, to be honest. I think when you do look at the others and you kind of look at your Iniestas with a 4-star, you look at obviously Kroos with a 3-5, and then you've also got, is it Sergio? I want to say, I don't know how you pronounce it. You've got Caroline, so you've got her as an 86 as well, coming in with a 4-3. Gerrard just being that little bit step off the mark, in my opinion. Obviously, the Chem's going to do wonderful. They will get a lovely upgrade once they eventually get into, I think, is it mid-November or something like that? And I'd say all of them have got some use. I think when you're looking at these cards in comparison to the other icons, they are obviously going to be better than the average, in my opinion. But then we throw in a few more. I think we've got some solid options even at the end. We'll start off with Ward-Prowse, who I'd see as possibly one of the kind of the lower representative ones. He's coming in at level 10, so we've had him for quite some time now. I really like his dead ball. I think that's great for free kicks. Realistically, at this point in the game, you're probably looking at slightly better. He's kind of come down that little bit more, but if you are looking at kind of like an England team that you're building, or obviously going for like a West Ham, a past and present, the Evo will fly in for him, and he's got that ability to play in many different roles, which is always interesting, to be honest. Then we throw in ourselves to a bit of João Neves. Now, I think I put him in to the CDM role as well. Now, I do like him as a CDM. I think he's definitely the more defensive side if you're looking between him and Vitinha, but he definitely could still play in that centre mid absolutely fine. I just think his CDM role would be more effective as such. So it's got to be an interesting one. He'd be very much kind of like Guti. In the CDM, absolutely up there. Centre mid, a little bit less. I'd say he's still very good, but he's going to be more based around that defensive side, whereas Guti is obviously the opposite. In the cam role, much better. Centre mid is just good. Like, it's a solid card rather than necessarily what everybody wants. We also then have a WSL in here with our, obviously, Francesca coming in as an 89 centre mid. She's still 30,000. She definitely dropped a little bit compared to before. She was up at 50. Really, really solid centre mid for the WSL, and most definitely there is a team that you can make around there, let alone being able to link to Liga F with obviously the Spanish nation. Definitely an interesting card to look at. Stats wise, very good dribbling, lovely passing, obviously coming in at what, 5'5", so very tricky on the ball, and I most definitely would put her still in a solid category. Grace, on the other hand, is another one that in previous years was most definitely up there with the best of them. Obviously, changing from PSG now to the WSL, playing for London City Lionesses. I'm assuming that's Chelsea? No, is that Chelsea? We can have a look. I mean, like I know everybody. No, it can't be. Who on earth is that? London Lionesses. Chelsea's in here, isn't there? Because they've got James. So they've got Chelsea. Who on earth is the London Lionesses? I don't know, but regardless, she plays for them. Let me know in the comments if you do know that. I do think this year a little bit less effective compared to previous years, so it is always interesting to see where she can go with an upgrade, because she did have a lovely upgrade last year that really did well for her. And then we also have Barella, the final gold card that we've got coming in. I think he's standard. If I was looking across the centre mids that we've got, I'd possibly say he's dropping down in a value slightly, but I'd possibly still go into that usable more than anything. And to be honest, I'd probably say the same for Pappy, and also Dunn it'll be a question, to be honest. She's got a really nice upgraded card, especially for the D1. Loads of cards that you can obviously utilise there. I don't think she was that bad, to be honest. At 5'1", going to be very tricky with the ball. I'd possibly still give her a little run in the very usable. Which leaves us then to Tolisso, who is another very underrated, very cheap little beast that you can find out. Coming at, well, I mean cheap, I say 56,000. I thought he was a little bit cheaper than that. Solid centre mid. Again, very much like Dunn. At the minute, he definitely works it. He was always more defensive, but he seems to have been grasping that more centre mid vibe at this point. Got a lovely pace upgrade as well. I'd say you could possibly put him into a very usable. I think for right, yeah, we'll go him as a very low, very usable at this point. I think he's arguably up there, especially if you're looking at kind of like a French midfield. He definitely can get the job done. So that is going to be the list for today. Let me know down below who you've got in the midfield. Are you rocking centre mids, DMs, cams? Leave it down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll catch you all for that next one. Peace.